Alright, so I just watched this movie today, just a couple hours ago. I got out of it. This is Captain America Civil War, just came out this year, 2016. And I just got to see it because, interestingly enough, the studio, for some reason, was really strict on like letting people see this movie for free. And I work at a theater, and we couldn't see it for the first 2 weeks unless we wanted to pay. I didn't really want to pay to see this, and so finally got to see it this weekend. And of course, another Marvel movie. This one's bringing everybody back and introducing new characters. So I don't really want to, get into super specifics just because I've talked about a lot of the other movies. I think most people are pretty aware of all these Marvel movies. But this one is directed by the Russo brothers again. They directed the last Captain America movie, Winter Soldier, which I thought was pretty interesting. I liked it well enough because it was different. They did something pretty different with Winter Soldier. Was kind of a very 70s spy thriller, and so it was nice to see a change. And this one is kind of a little more of the same, which I was kind of expecting that they'd kind of go back to the formula. The Marvel movies are very formulaic of kind of the way they progress. And even though this is Captain America movie, it's almost you could almost see it as like an Avengers movie too because it has pretty much everybody in here. And the basic plot, I guess, very very basic. You're pitting, so all of the Avengers are kind of having to come to terms with the destruction that they've dealt out over these last couple movies, specifically all the civilian casualties that they've probably accumulated through all the enormous destruction that's gone through on these cities and stuff. So that's kind of the main basis of what everybody's worried about. And so, what's his name? William Hurt is playing. He was General Ross, but now he's like a Secretary of State, and so he's a politician. He comes to the Avengers, tells them that 117 countries have signed this treaty or accord, and they want the Avengers to be policed. Basically, they don't want them just they don't want them to do their own thing anymore. They want them to be accountable to somebody, and creates this divide between on like the most basic level between Captain America and Iron Man. So between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. Captain America, he does not want to give up control. He doesn't want them to be held back or have to, wait for somebody to make a decision, potentially make the wrong one. Tony Stark is kind of impacted more about what he's seen, the destruction that they've caused, and so there's certain people on certain sides. I'm trying to look at the cast. But yeah, like Falcon is like Captain America's best friend, so he's on his side. Obviously, Rhodey, War Machine is on Iron Man's side. So there's all these different characters picking sides. I don't want to go through and say who's on whose side or whatnot. But as it goes through, the whole movie is just basically about revenge and vengeance. It's kind of what it boils down to. There's all these lots of different plots happening. It's not super complicated, but there is quite a bit going on. And a lot of it just revolves around people wanting to get revenge or justice, however you want to say it, for something that has happened to them in the past. And overall, I think the movie is okay. Like I said earlier, it turns into a bit of the formulaic stuff that these Marvel movies tend to do. You kind of know what's going to happen at the beginning, the middle, and then kind of how it's going to conclude. And that's okay. It has some really good action. I would say two scenes in particular. The opening sequence is really good. That's with mainly Captain America, Falcon, Black Widow, and they're going after a guy named Crossbones, who was kind of created in the last Captain America. That sequence is really cool at the beginning to open it up, and then later there's the really really big sequence of all the Avengers fighting each other. So the sequence when all the Avengers are fighting each other at an airport is awesome. That seems really cool. It's really funny too. So those scenes are good. Ending is okay. It's decent. The extra credit scenes at the very end are so-so. I take them or leave them. I probably didn't need to stay and watch them. But other than that, I think most people are pretty familiar with the majority of these characters. So I'm just going to kind of go through them because there are some new ones that I liked. So Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, they're all good. They're all the same. Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson, I like them. They're still doing really good as their roles. They really embody those characters really well. Sebastian Stan is back as the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes. He's doing a pretty good job. I did like a couple sequences where and he just seems really, I don't know how to say it, like powerful. It's really interesting when he's, it takes multiple of them to try to take him down. I thought that was kind of cool. He's getting a bit more character development. One thing that I think they kind of missed in this movie that would have been really nice, and they didn't do this, so it's not really a spoiler, but I think they could have added an element to the story because it's a long movie. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And a lot of it is about how he's controlled and manipulated all the time because, as we know from the other movies, he's controlled by the Soviets, and then, you can get his brainwash and all this stuff. I think it would have been really interesting if they kind of did something where, Captain America's trying to save him because he's his friend. That's his whole point. And then Iron Man, that whole other, there's another character I'll get into in a minute, but all these people want to stop him or even kill him because of what he's done. I think it would have been a really interesting plot point if they had one of those people catch up to the Winter Soldier, catch him, and, because he kind of goes in and out between being controlled and then, being lucid or being the Bucky Barnes. I think they could have done something where he gets caught by these people that want to, kill him. And if they had a part where he's like, yes, like, do it. Like, please kill me. I'm tired of being a puppet. Because he's just continuously, he's like Captain America. He's been frozen or whatever, and he's old. Like, they're from the 40s. And all he's known is just being controlled by people, being puppeted around. And of course, you don't have to kill him. That's pretty cold. I think it could have been like the hero, whoever's decision not to, or have that person make a change of heart, or they say, actually, no, I won't kill you. But I think it would have been interesting to have the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, be like, this is torturing me really bad. Like, I'm just being a pawn for everybody, and I hate it, and I remember all these people I've killed on behalf of these other evil people. Like, end my misery. I don't know if that's, like, too dark of a thing to do, but I think it would have made that character even more interesting. I thought that would have been something that cool, interesting that they could have done, but whatever. Sebastian Stan is still pretty good in that role. Anthony Mackie is the Falcon. I didn't care for him too much in the last movie, Winter Soldier, but here I thought it was really interesting, especially in the opening sequence. The way he uses like his wings and the way he fights is much, much more interesting than it was before. It's really cool and evolved. See, War Machine, he's whatever, doesn't do much. Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner, still awful. That's the worst character. I don't like Jeremy Renner very much, and that's just the dumbest character, Hawkeye. Okay, this character, Black Panther, played by Chadwick Boseman, is a new character, and he's awesome. He is super badass. He's probably like one of the best characters that they've introduced in the whole Marvel universe in these movies. He's really, really good in this. He's from a made up country in Africa. I can't think of the name off the tip of my tongue. Let's see if it's up here. No. Anyways, it's a country where they get the vibranium and stuff for like Captain America's shield and whatnot. And he's like a prince from that country. He's really cool though. All his action sequences are really interesting. I think he'll be a good character as they move on with him. Vision, I still played by Paul Bettany. I still don't understand that character. He was created in the Avengers Ultron or whatever. Used to be Tony Stark's Jarvis, his computer. I don't know. He's weird. I just don't understand that character. They don't really do much with him here either. Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen. A little more interesting here. She was also in the last Avengers movie. It's kind of cooler to see her manipulate her powers and use them in interesting ways, but they don't really do a ton with her. She's okay. Paul Rudd as Ant-Man is awesome. I haven't seen Ant-Man the movie, but now I want to go back and watch it because he's really funny in this. He is introduced during the big battle between all of the heroes, basically, and Paul Rudd is just hilarious in it. So he's really good, and then his fight sequences are also really awesome. So that was pretty good. And then after that, the new Spider-Man, played by Tom Holland, who I haven't seen. He's pretty young. I haven't seen him in anything, but they give him a pretty good introduction, which I wasn't really expecting. But he's awesome too. He's like almost, I would say, probably the best representation of Spider-Man, Peter Parker we've seen. He fits the age more. He's actually a young actor. Like, I think Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were older than they were playing, and Tom Holland's the right age, super funny. He's just doing, like, the big thing about Spider-Man and Peter Parker is that he's just making quips and jokes like the whole time he's fighting, and he does that really well here. And the only one thing that I was kind of curious about, I don't know if I disagreed, I thought it was just kind of weird, is how good he is at fighting, because they say that he's only had these powers for 6 months or so when Tony Stark is talking to him. So I was kind of like, you've only had these powers for 6 months, you're kicking some serious ass. So that's just like a little thing though. Also, one other little thing, Marissa Tomei is playing as Aunt May, which is just, I don't know, I get it, they're going like really young with Tom Holland, really young Peter Parker, but I think Marissa Tomei is a little too young to be playing Aunt May. I'm not sure exactly how old she is, but she just does not look very old. You imagine Aunt May as like an old grandma type, like she has been in like the first Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, and that's not Marissa Tomei. So that's just another little thing, but I don't know why they'd make her so young, but like I said, Spider-Man is awesome. So let's see. I wrote down my notes and I don't have them with me. I think I'm gonna give this. I'm giving it like a 3.25 out of 5. Action's good. It's a little too long. It's on the brink of 3 hours. It's closer to 3 hours than 2 hours. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think, was the runtime. It's a long movie. It gets into a bit of the too formulaic, but it also introduces some really good characters. Black Panther's awesome. The new Spider-Man's awesome. I really liked Ant-Man, so I'm going to go back and watch Ant-Man, the movie, probably sooner than later now. I've been wanting to watch it, but definitely now after seeing him here. Super funny. So yeah, it's funny in the middle, good action sequence at the beginning, in the middle, ending, and filler. Kind of boring, not that great, but they're making this huge universe and whatnot, so yeah, I guess it's a good one to see in theater because it is like a big action movie, so that was one reason I wanted to see it, just because these are good to see in theater. So, alright, this is going to be a really long video, so I'll stop now. Yeah, 3.25 out of 5.